Keir Starmer's a lawyer. He's always able to say the right thing that people want to hear. You might disagree, but when Charlie Kirk was killed, he said, "We must all be free to debate openly and freely without fear. There can be no justification for political violence." Now, surely, if you delete the obvious, there can be no justification for political violence, then he is arguing as a statement that we must all be free to debate openly and freely without fear. Or is he meaning without fear of being killed, but you can still be prosecuted? Well, every year, 13,000 people have non-crime hate incidents recorded against them. And every year, the police trot out to 13,000 people's properties with a number of police and knock on their door and try and put the fear of God into them. Ofcom, okay, it's not the government, but it's government by another name. It's just handed out so they can free themselves of any guilt. And Ofcom is going after American websites, threatening them for publishing things that are in breach of the Online Safety Act. YouTubers going on holiday return to being arrested under terrorist legislation so that they can have their phones searched, be questioned without real meaningful advice from lawyers, and pressed on who they're talking to and what they're talking about it. People have police turning up at workplaces to ask about online jokes and limericks. It doesn't even have to be something that can be seen as hateful. You send a WhatsApp message to a couple of fellow parents at a school saying, "I don't think they followed the legal process to appoint a new headmaster," and before you know it, the police are knocking your door down, dragging you to be separately questioned for making dangerous threats. How many of these cases happen based on nothing except that some counsellor or some school governor doesn't like oversight? If the answer is that that school followed the process, then it could have been very easily dealt with, and the police should have said, "What are you getting us involved with?" The same as if you call the police because someone's trespassing in your block of flats. The police will say, "I'm very sorry to hear about that, but it's not really a criminal matter. It's a civil matter for you to deal with." And then they'll see the trespasser and say, "I know that person, but I'm not going to do anything about it because it's a civil matter." Well, how is it a criminal matter to charge someone when you've not reviewed the evidence because there were no threats made? This is the process, is the punishment. And I'm not saying Keir Starmer and Labour invented this process, but they seem very reluctant to dismantle it. Britain recently fell out of the top rankings of the Index of Freedom of Speech. And no one should really be surprised because, however sweet the words of Keir are, the truth is we've never had so little freedom of speech. Certainly, if you're wanting to discuss anything as controversial as crime, immigration, or the performance of the government. Back in February, during that rather cringe-worthy meeting between Keir, J.D. Vance and Trump, we had him say he was very proud of Britain's history of freedom of speech. Well, freedom of speech is being curtailed. He's the Prime Minister. If he's so worried about it, perhaps he should look at what the general public are concerned about, rather than throwing pompous, empty words. Because from an American perspective, Britain has never had freedom of speech. We've never had the level of freedom of speech that the Americans think is their God-given right. We don't have true freedom of speech, and as a result, we have persecution. And as Prime Minister, rather than weaponising the judicial system or standing back, he maybe needs to roll his sleeves up a little bit and get involved in making sure we do have freedom of speech, since he holds it so dear. Yet, whilst we have all these empty words, we have fairly clear evidence that was leaked in America because it was blocked in Britain, that there was a Whitehall department whose job was to crack down on people criticising the government on immigration during the riots last year, which, do we have any evidence that's closed down? Not any I've seen. And we also have the police forming a special group to deal with online speech. Is there such a rise in people saying dangerous things, or has dangerous been redefined so much that if you're to the right of Starmer's cabinet, you are far right now?